To Gary B. Smith, Jonathan Hoenig, Adam Mashinsky, and Francis Newton. Gary B., what do you think?
Well, I think it is business striking back, and rightfully so. You know, tell you what, Liz, I think this is the most anti-business president since FDR. I mean, look at the industries he's bashed. He dragged those poor auto executives, made them drive from Detroit, for crying out loud, to testify. Then he bashed, WellPoint now in California. Of course, he's been bashing Wall Street for about the past 2 years or so. He had the foot on the throat of BP and the rest of the oil industry, pharmaceutical industry. And this is a person who basically does not like business. That's come through in his speeches, in his remarks. And business finally saying, wait a second, we were supporting this guy. We got to look out for ourselves. And they're doing the right thing.
Francis, do you agree?
Yes, I absolutely agree. The thing that bothers me the most about Obama is that 1 minute he's saying one thing, 1 minute he's pro-Main Street, the next minute he's pro-Wall Street. He's all over the place. The policies are all over the place. Business investors, average Americans, they cannot prepare for this kind of indecision. And I think that's the big problem. Pick a team and get on it so that we can at least prepare in the business world and as market investors for some kind of long-term outcome. Right. I think that you can't say that we're pro-business, that we are going to produce our way out of this recession, and then at the same time go after regulation and shut it down and threaten taxes.
Jonathan, the Business Roundtable is a 54-page report talking about the hyper-regulation and the smothering pillow of hyper-taxation. Is this why there's, that's coming out of D.C., is this why that there's $1.8 trillion in cash on the balance sheet locked up, according to the Federal Reserve, at companies?
Well, I think there's no question, the panel's already highlighted that, yes, in fact, this administration is very anti-business, Liz. It's not even lately. I mean, go back to January. There was a poll out, 77% of business owners at that time thought the president was unfriendly to investments. I have to say, though, I think this job summit is a bit of a media circus. I mean, how can you have a job summit with no job creators on it? From what I could tell, it's all legislators on it. And the website is almost pure propaganda. I mean, they equate free enterprise on their website with clean energy. So, you know, I don't, free enterprise is very easy to understand, and I don't think this administration does.
Adam, to Jonathan's point, you know, maybe the administration has really undermined its own credibility with the business community here. We get that there should have been financial reform. We get that Wall Street was reckless. We get that health reform, you know, was needed, but we don't know about this form of health reform. But maybe there's just too many thunderbolts being tossed down from Mount Washington at businesses.
Well, maybe. I mean, in my opinion, other than the little bit of wisdom that Jonathan just shared with us, it feels to me like we saved all of our nonsense for the very end of the week here.
Did you just say a little bit of wisdom?
Yeah, he had I thought that was extremely interesting what he had to say about the Business Roundtable. But no, Liz, this is not an anti-business administration. We have people in this country who are very good at complaining.
How are they not anti-business?
Gary B. Smith, you're one of the best complainers who I've heard in the last.
How are they pro-business?
You're saying you had a wonderful list there of bash-worthy entities or companies. WellPoint, the pharmaceutical industry, BP.
How are they pro-business?
Here's why. In the last 5 to 10 years, we didn't exactly cover ourselves in glory from a regulatory perspective. I mean, we've had a few problems in this country, in case you haven't noticed.
Oh, we have noticed,
The President, his administration, Congress is trying to get that in order.
Well, thank you for pointing all that out to us, sir. I really appreciate that.
Thank God he's come down from the mountain.
Yeah, Francis, back to you. I want to go to Francis. We know that laissez-faire bookkeeping, you know, laissez-faire markets, laissez-faire bookkeepings, the free markets were free for all. But are we overreaching here? Are basically companies on a hiring strike, or in the companies in a spending freeze their own because they're sort of scared about what's coming out of Washington? They don't know what's coming next.
Yes, I think that they are in a hiring freeze and a spending and borrowing freeze. The credit markets are still locked up, but I think the main reason is because they're starting to lose confidence in this administration. On one hand, we've got all of this legislation that is supposed to be, you know, fixing the financial crisis, like the Financial Regulatory Reform Bill. And on the other hand, we are getting ourselves in such incredible deficits that we are going to have to answer. We are following the path of Greece and Spain, and I think it's really hard for somebody who understands the monetary policy and the math to get behind that.
All right, gang, you've been terrific. Thank you so much. You'll be back. By the way, Neil is back on Monday, and he'll be joined by Mort Zuckerman to continue this discussion. But up next, what a royal mess King James has left behind.